All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for Legend of the Galactic Heroes, episode 14. All right. The Alliance is coming to bring some freedom to the Galactic Empire.
Ordered some freedom with a side of French fries.
Yeah, indeed.
Oh,
with
boy.
a side of potential domestic casualties. But I don't think they're actually going to do that. I think this is actually going to be one of those moments where we'll see a lot of the good-natured hearts of some of the individuals within the Alliance, where they're like, okay, cool, we're liberating people.
Yeah, and it
feels
actually
really
seems
good.
like we're doing that. Wow, these people were apparently starving, you know?
Well, I mean, the fleet, arrived literally after the Empire's, few ships left, so it's like...
Run away! Yeah. But, oh boy.
But I want to see what, Reinhardt's strategy is going to be. I want to see, what the Alliance's, big, kind of eventual kind of preparations made for a long supply chain will be.
That's what I'm really interested in seeing, because Reinhardt kind of established his strategy before. Okay, let them overextend, take away the resources, drain them, all that stuff. But what is the Alliance going to do? Because if they're not getting fully resisted, what happens when they actually need to take military checkpoints? Will those also be relinquished?
No, I don't think they really need to do anything on the ground though, unless they're literally thinking of having this be an occupation strategy where they're actually taking the ground and trying to hold it. Because I think their original thing with all this political mumbo jumbo from Fork was shock and awe, and we'll make them fear us, and then that'll be a big thing.
Yeah,
sure, buddy, whatever. But if they do go for the, like you're saying, military checkpoints, I think they could establish most of it from space. They wouldn't need to really do much on the ground of a specific planet.
Because of that shot where it shows the sea of stars that is the fleet, right? I am really excited to get into some fleet combat, which might not be for a while.
I don't think that's
strategy
going to be for
that's
a
been
while.
Established.
Yeah,
but there could also be some dumb people on the Imperial side. They're like, no, this is stupid. What is that strategy? We need to assail them and all that stuff.
Oh, sure. So they'll have maybe individual nobles. This is what I was thinking, was that Reinhardt will not be able to corral all the nobles into his strategy, and some of them will be powerful enough, like the ones with the special ordered defense system from the Fejon Dominion, who are no, we're going to try and stop them at our planet with our small fleet. It's you don't understand. It's 200,000 ships.
200,000 ships.
Yeah, this isn't some small fleet. And then we just see them just get completely decimated.
And I am so looking forward to that.
Well, yeah, I'm also looking forward to having Yang have a moment. It's probably something that's going to have a lot later, but a moment where he realizes that because of the strategy that the Empire is employing, that there are going to be moments where those that resist will get just absolutely destroyed. And that's not war. That's just slaughter.
Well, I mean, that's a part of war.
Well, it's a very
it's one of the
nasty
uglier sides of war. If he thought the Iserlons, Thorcan or whatever it was bad, he ain't seen nothing yet, I'm guessing. So,
yeah, exactly. So we had one planet's response to the whole situation.
Yep,
some wholesomeness, some kind of family of sorts, bigger than more than blood, kind of loyalty and such.
Right.
And let's see what perspective we're gonna get next. So y'all, without further ado, let's get into it. All right, everyone, be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, and then come back here for the discussion. All right, and here we see the results of the gross incompetence of the Alliance here, and the consequences of a war of economics.
Yep, and while I am very upset at Fork, I can't be too disappointed in him specifically. But this is one of those things where the disappointment with all the other Alliance, commanders and people like that.
Politicians.
Well, but the military people that listened to Fork's plan and that was all there was, and when they brought it up that there needed to be more, didn't specifically demand, no, give us substance.
Well, yeah, that had nothing to do with the Empire's Scorched Earth plan, though.
Oh, yes, definitely.
So there's no way they could have known exactly what the Empire would do.
Yep.
But once they realized what the Empire was doing, which probably took them actually a while, because rather than just abandoning planets, it isn't necessarily a scorched earth strategy. So it took them 200 systems, essentially, where they're like, oh, okay, yeah, we're dealing with a scorched earth strategy here.
Yep.
Okay.
And the fact that, now granted, because it was this important, the Empire would have figured out how to do it. Of cutting off the supply line when it happened,
because they knew it would happen at some point.
Right, but they knew it would happen at some point. But the thing is,
they've also got spies on the other side.
Oh, sure. But the thing is that the Alliance knows that this is their strategy, that this is what they're going to be doing, and that this supply line is basically a single point of failure for their entire, invasion.
Yep.
The fact that they had 26 ships only escorting it when they have a fleet of 200,000.
Again, they're 200 systems, though, potentially into Empire territory.
Definitely, but
so Yang did send ships back.
Right, but it's
but they didn't make it in time.
Right, but it's something that shouldn't have had to be done in response. It's something that, with the request, they should have also basically sent 25,000 ships or something to basically wait at Iserlon, and be like, okay, once the supply comes in, cool, we will escort it personally with heavy guard all the way to the front lines.
Right. And this is something that I think has been relatively well established because you're dealing in galactic scale. Obviously, both sides have spies on each side there. The thing, though, that is ridiculously unfortunate here, I think that's the best word for it, is that when you have such a small fleet moving like that from Iserlon, once it leaves the Iserlon, I'm assuming, corridor, it could go anywhere. It's not like you know immediately which area of space it's going to be traveling. So for the sake of the plot, in my opinion, this is something that I'm kind of okay with, is that they knew exactly where the fleet was going to go. They knew exactly how to get their ships there in preparation for that, because they knew this would happen, which I am okay with for sure.
Yep,
but the idea that, the Alliance didn't have an actual number of ships that makes sense to send when you have more transport than you actually have defense ships, that's kind of nuts.
Well, and also
because it's probably that they sent literally every ship they could into this massive campaign.
Right.
It's the equivalent of having one unit on all of your risk territories, but having literally only one that has 75 units or what have you. And it's like, why wouldn't you at least cover your bases a little bit?
And it's one of those things where, because they don't get into too much of the technology of how they achieved spacefaring capabilities,
we don't know how.
We don't know a few things that could potentially be relevant, but the fact that we don't know it is okay too.
Yeah.
Within the context of, why is the Iserlon corridor and the Fejon Dominion, why are those the two choke points? Because space is big and empty, so theoretically you'd be able to go through anywhere.
Right. I think it's just charting space, basically.
Yeah, there's
what's safe and what's
there's
not
some
safe.
Kind of explanation for it. But then the other one is detection.
Right. That's the big one as well.
Because since they don't have light speed travel, right?
That's assumed, but it is there's a lot of evidence to support that.
Yeah, there's a lot of evidence to support that, that they have to actually move fleets, and it takes a lot of time. Because if you have light speed travel, then the whole idea of borders almost completely goes away, unless you have some kind of field to disrupt it or whatever. But it's also the idea that, can you actually sneak a fleet anywhere? Because if it's theoretically,
that would be one of the first areas of high-level technology that they would develop in a war like this, is to have extreme levels of the ability to detect fleets. And I think they do have that, but it's not as omnipotent as we would.
And usually in sci-fis, they'll do the whole thing of, we're hiding a fleet in something that throws off the sensors or whatever.
And that's just basically a plot thing to make it work.
But then that's usually something where the fleet is stationary, right? Yeah. Having a mobile fleet that's able to sneak is important, that's able to be done, right?
So we have to assume on some level that was something that happened here. The Alliance essentially overextended. Now this is the point that they're trying to bring up. The Empire prepared for this. Knew this was a part of their strategy, didn't necessarily have to send a fleet a ridiculous amount of time throughout this. They had one ready for this specific thing. Knew that when things started to switch, when things started to change with regards to the unrest in the actual systems, they would at the very least probably have people that are on these systems that they left specifically to take a look at these things. And then when that happens, they're like, all right, fleet, get ready to move. This is your time. And once you destroy the transport ship, get the out of there. Just go away.
Disappear.
Yeah. And that's exciting because it makes the idea of when they have these massive fleets, there are consequences that ripple out that our genius minds on both sides, Yang and Reinhardt specifically, can properly prepare for, but also feel the consequences of when they get beaten by the other person. So in this case, Reinhardt calls check, basically puts the Alliance fleet into an awkward position where they either have to retreat en masse or get ready for a counterattack.
Yeah. And one of the things that they've been establishing throughout this show that I think is really important is that in a lot of other stories and shows and things like that, because they want to have the mind games, they'll only do the mind games, and then what will often happen is that there's some sort of aura of stupidity around the main characters because these are the people that are smarter, right?
Yeah.
And then they'll sort of build up the opposition so that they can get like one-upped, basically, right? Whereas instead here, because the themes are along the horrors of war and all the stuff that happens,
the dramatic consequences.
The dramatic consequences, exactly. Yep. It's not actually that they're going up against big brain people that then have an aura of stupidity, right? It's that there are incompetent people on both sides that are in positions of authority. And it is known by both sides, and it is causing lots of trouble, right?
And this seems very realistic.
Yeah.
The idea that Fork could literally have a legitimate problem with this that is actually causing him to be in somewhat of a hysterical character. Like that is actually a part of his problem, his flaw. It could also be a literal faked thing that he's doing. Like that's a stupid tinfoil hat theory. But I think the fact that they followed up with that he's having his afternoon nap.
Yes. That
I love that because it's saying okay, all right, cool, I get it. You, in your extreme position of power, you have a really tough job sitting at a desk waiting to give orders, I understand. It must be really tough. So I hope you have pleasant dreams to make up for the fact that because you weren't up to be able to issue this order, we are going to have to fight the Imperial fleet while we are stretched thin along a border. And also that really means nothing.
And also the Imperial citizens, it's the only point where it kind of breaks down a little bit, but even then there's a plausible explanation for it, even if it's not explicitly stated, is that why is this the person that's in the most command? Because before they began this campaign, wouldn't they know that this is their general temperament, right? But because of how much political machinations and stuff is dictating the flow of everything, it totally makes sense that they were probably specifically handpicked for this. Why they're handpicked for this, who knows? But something caused that to happen when it shouldn't have.
Well, I think another thing that's being focused on here that's rather the case, I would say, in our modern society here, is that there is a lot of politics that we're probably not aware of going on with regards to when war happens. And when I say war, I mean we've had troops in Afghanistan. For how long? Why?
Yeah. Well, also just the thing of, okay, they mentioned it before, but bringing it up again of, elections coming up soon. We don't want to do this and have nothing to show for it.
Yeah, we got to have actually some kind of effort that, some kind of result that we got from this. Otherwise, we're going to look stupid and it's going to look like that government inaction and wasteful spending. And
Which is one of the examples of why in a semi-functioning situation like this, ideally, there's a lot more of a separation where it's more of this is what we should do, or this or this. These are our good options. Take your pick based on what you think the decision of the country should be.
But again, that's probably the thing that makes that they're trying to poke a little bit of a hole in here, is that because of their democratic society, democratic, they have to keep the military commanders having checks and balances against becoming just a warlord that takes over.
Because that's what separates them from the empire.
Right. Yeah. But that's the crazy thing, that right now we're seeing in some ways
the advantages of having the empires set up for things.
Right, where you have almost supreme levels of authority that don't have checks and balances against it.
It's so much of a meritocracy that while you do have those kinds of situations where you still have people in positions of authority that shouldn't be there, very quickly, hopefully, that will end up getting subverted.
Right, but let's acknowledge what's happening here. The Reinhardt came up with this strategy. This means that short of him absolutely decimating the Alliance fleet and reclaiming these planets, millions of Imperials will starve.
Yep.
They did this without any care for those people's lives.
Oh yeah, and that's something that he that was brought up with the whole idea of that Kierheis doesn't like this strategy, right? Because Kierheis is a good boy. Yeah. Reinhardt is like, this is an effective strategy. This will make us win.
Yeah, that's what he said. Kierheis, this is to win.
Yeah.
Like I love the fact that we also got Oberstein just kind of right there, kind of being that other side, kind of pointing at this and kind of narrowing his eyes, looking at.
Yeah, I feel like
you said it before. Yeah.
Kierheis balanced out Reinhardt, right? But now there's another person that's been added to that duo, right? In Oberstein, and he does not balance out Reinhardt, so there's an imbalance.
Well, if anything, I think that Reinhardt, he is his own needle that waves.
Oh, for sure.
So he'll go both ways on his own accord.
Well, and it's more.
I think that they're just both counteracting each other rather than balancing out Reinhardt specifically.
Sure, right? Because Reinhardt would still do the things that he would do, right? But it's
Yeah, they're influencing him in their own specific ways based on that person.
Let's be real. Yeah, because I think Oberstein was the one that kind of presented this plan, but Reinhardt, in an official sense, but yeah, Reinhardt would have totally done this.
I don't know if we actually saw anything about them deliberating what this plan would be, other than we saw them go in to a meeting thing to discuss the plan, and then they just came out, and we just saw the results of them really like, okay, this is what we're gonna do,
right? Because of going through the reactions post. I believe I saw something where it was saying that it was something that Oberstein brought up.
Oh, dang! But, Oberstein.
Yeah, and in a sense, it totally makes sense because he doesn't really like the Imperials either. So.
So he maybe gets a little bit off on this idea of
or at least there's less hesitation to do it, right?
Yeah. Wouldn't it be interesting though if Oberstein was actually a spy for the Fejon Dominion?
Nah. Although, we have to bring up though that Fejon actually came out and said it. Yep, get them to fight each other and we'll win just money.
We'll just win by money. We'll own both sides essentially.
Yep. Which is
So right now. He's actually frustrated by the idea that the Alliance is losing too much right now.
Oh, wow.
So he's going to actually help them by giving them a loan, small loan of $1 trillion.
Right. Well, that's a great explanation for how all the people are in these positions. So, the whole issue with politicians is, they're out for their own interests, but also the idea
they get bought.
Yeah. So you have the person with all the money. So it's probably not TrueNet or things like that. Because one of the reasons why I was like, wait a minute, hold on, that doesn't make sense, is that they would still be motivated. They want the assault to succeed. They want the invasion.
They want their own personal power to grow.
Right, exactly. So they would want this plan that's their plan to actually go well.
Yeah.
But for Fejon, right, he could totally make sure that by paying people off that certain people get certain jobs that will cause it to go badly.
That's true.
Right? That's
true. Just having people planted in certain key spots.
It prints money,
Oh my God.
And there you go.
And even if it's something where he doesn't have to have people there, he can just feed false information.
Oh, totally.
As long as it leads towards the side that is basically feeling like they came to the Fejon Dominion for help, that they got something out of it, they'll keep buying essentially what he's selling.
What has Batman and Iron Man taught us? That money is the best superpower.
Superman also only really gets beaten really by Lex Luthor in a lot of ways, because
and Batman, I think.
Well,
but so, and I'm not too familiar with comics.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah, I just made a really empirically false statement there, but
the idea that
the point is
that Fejan is definitely the big bad of this story. I would say, well, okay, not necessarily Fejan. It's because of the themes and everything. It's it's more of the not tied to a specific person. It's the idea of war
being propagated for the sake of something that is inhuman.
Right. It happens, and awful things happen when that happens, Right. But if for a specific person, I'm like, it's Fejan. Like,
yeah. What's the guy's actual name though?
What was it?
No, they showed the name of the girl that he was with here.
Yeah. Dominique Saint Pierre, but his actual name was.
That was the girl.
Though. Yeah. Dang it. I don't remember. Did we have it down on here?
Fajani Landsher?
Yeah, no. He had a different name.
He had a different name.
Well, we'll figure it out at some point.
Yeah. So Lex Luthor.
Mm-hmm. He's Lex Luthor.
Lex Luthor basically just said, "Okay, we're gonna get them in debt to us."
Oh yeah.
Which actually, let's bring this up. If he's going to bring up the war of finances, where does Yang fit into the conflict from the Alliance side of things?
Well, he's going to make it so that the Alliance will have some victories, which will then pressure the Empire.
So Yang,
he balances Lohengrin,
right? But the thing that Lohengrin has almost up on Yang is that he is both a war figure and a political figure.
Yes.
So as the Alliance becomes less and less democratic, I'll bet you anything Yang will actually have to become a politician.
Potentially, although they also have Jessica.
That's true. That's true. But she's a good politician. Yes. I'm basically looking at this as Yang is the character that is the tragic hero.
Yeah.
He is going to continually succeed and then continually put burdens upon him that give him more power than he actually knows how to handle as a person.
Yeah, my prediction is that there's going to come a point when he has Trunit's job.
Right. He'll be so powerful within the Alliance that he will basically self-sabotage in some ways the Alliance because he realizes this is wrong.
Well, I think by that point the Alliance will be kind of on its last legs in a sense, because there will have been so much conflict and whatnot. Like if once
he'll broker peace, basically.
Well, once Trunit's gone, that means there's been a big change, right? And it's probably something that will hurt the Alliance as a structure a lot. Like I'm almost thinking that'll be when Fejan is kind of like has sort of come into the limelight as being like a really powerful figurehead that doesn't have to move from the shadows.
Yeah, for sure. But we have also basically just in this episode, just to go back to the episode really quick, we just had a lot of stuff regarding kind of the humanity of these characters having to deal with the situations that they were involved in. I loved the presentation of it. And even though this was an old school, not as, brilliant
flashy,
to look at anime, the genuine, simple emotion that they were trying to hit of the hopelessness that Franz and Teresa felt regarding this whole situation. And it was really well done. And it was simple and to the point. So that once we got to that final scene, realizing that the mechanized, tanks came in and just napalmed the whole place, it's just like, no one wins in this situation. Just good people end up homeless and broken and starving and
I was at the beginning of the episode when they gave like that super like close up intimate perspective on what was happening on this planet. I was like, okay, this is really cool to see this perspective, but it was also a thing of, why is this particularly happening in this episode after all the stuff that happened? Why choose this? But then it's like, because
we're going to burn it all to the ground.
I see why. And like this episode was like, I loved it. I loved it so much. Like it was fantastic and so necessary for the overarching story and themes and everything.
It's also a good way to do what they do in some kind of strategy games, RTSs, is where you have different zooms, basically.
And then you zoom into like
you zoom into the personal, then you go out to the planetary, and then you go out to the system, and then you do the galactic level. They're called 4X strategy games, but basically this felt like a 4X strategy game story where we shifted to all the necessary perspectives, got that little bit of data to know how the plot will flow of the episode, and then while we definitely are frustrated with the incompetence of the Alliance and how it led to things brilliantly working out in Reinhardt's favor, I cannot wait for what happens in the next episode, because we're going to see Yang have to try and salvage what little he can of this mess.
Yep.
And that's probably where he's going to actually win out a little bit.
Sure.
He's going to somehow actually be ready for Reinhardt, because they still have a massive fleet. And Yang is still
Stupidly big.
Freaking battle genius.
Yep.
So, y'all,
also,
next episode.
Also, one last thing. The whole thing of the changing perspectives, if you want to do world building efficiently for big scope and really well, this is like textbook how you do it.
Oh, sure.
Because if you go like wide and shallow, then the shallowness is like, apparent, right? Yeah. But if you go super specific and super detailed, then okay, this happened for one city, for one village on one planet, out of 200 systems, right?
Right.
We just know that, this is basically what's happening for all the others, because the same sorts of things are happening, right?
And the way this would actually work is because they spent time in the previous episodes establishing these different groups of characters in their specific perspectives. We saw the council chamber. Yeah. We saw the group of alliance commanders. We saw Fork. We know
Reinhardt
how this
and
all
his
flows
admirals
and
and
what have you. Exactly.
Yep.
So y'all, the show's incredible, and we can't wait for the next episode. And if you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get on early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there. And all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general. And you can also talk with Jake about the sci-fi novel that he wrote.
That's right. I wrote a sci-fi novel. It's called Battle Lines, and it's really cool. And it's available on Amazon for purchase. Link in the description below. In both hardback and ebook for if you're in the US. If you're outside the US, then just ebook, but still awesome. Go check it out.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.